to the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the WC podcast. Today, we have a special guest. Help me welcome Vincent Saavedra, Executive Secretary Treasurer for the Southern Nevada Building Trades Union and member of the Workforce Connections Program Committee. Welcome, Vince.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you here. I know that I get to work with you a lot. We get to work with you a lot at Workforce Connections, but the intent here is for more people to know today about the work that you do for the Southern Nevada Building Trades Union. And maybe we'll even talk about some of the exciting projects coming up. But let's start with you. Please share with our listeners, our viewers, where you were born, where you grew up, went to school, and your apprenticeship journey, and perhaps your first job after becoming a journeyman.
Sure. So Vincent Saavedra, Executive Secretary Treasurer to Southern Nevada Building Trades. Born and raised in Fontana, California. Very blue-collar, hard-nosed city. Everyone that I grew up with, all their family, and everybody had very blue-collar jobs, right? My mom was a forklift operator. My dad was a union iron worker. That's how I got into the trades. Love it. Moved to Vegas in 2000 after graduation from high school, A.B. Miller High School. Got into the union for the Ironworkers Union, Local 416. And then my first project was the Las Vegas Convention Center expansion. Wow. Yeah, in 2000.
The West Hall?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And how many months or years now have you been in this position with the Southern Nevada Building Trades Union?
So in June will be 2 years.
Wow,
yes,
that goes by fast.
It went by super fast.
Yeah, I remember when you gave the news. Tell us a little bit about the organization that now you work for, because it doesn't just represent the iron workers who you were with, but a multitude more of trades. How many trades, and what is the key mission objectives of the Southern Nevada Building Trades Union?
Yeah, so we represent 19 of the 20 construction trade unions. We represent all the construction unions in Southern Nevada with the exception of the carpenters. And that's not for any particular reason. They haven't been a part of our organization for many years, and it's just been that way. But we align with our issues and things, whether that's legislatively, locally. About 99% of the things we align on with my organization. So we're an association of unions. I think there's a misconception of who we are. Like, we are not a union. We're an association of unions that has membership. But there's good power in that too. You know what I mean? And not there's good power in the organization as a whole. Not like, oh, Vince Saavedra. Like, no, it's not like that. Like, when you have 19 organized labor unions all working together that are organized through our association, there is really, really good power and strength in that. So it's a big deal for me to be the first Latino also to hold the position in Southern Nevada.
Yeah, I in my mind, and we'll put it here when we edit this to show the folks, but it was a powerful picture of you standing on the stage of the Brightline West groundbreaking ceremony, and behind you was all members of those trades, as you said, and to have a Latino up there was powerful. And so congrats. What inspired you? Because I know, again, you were probably very comfortable. I met you when you were in your role in the Ironworkers. You'd been in a groove for years. What inspired you to leave your comfort zone and take on this new leadership responsibility at an association? What was that made you say, I'm going to make that jump?
Yeah, so I wasn't really, I knew that I wanted to have this position someday. I wasn't really trying to go after it. I just figured I'd wait till, elections came up and everything. But we had our election process coming, and I've had a couple of the affiliates of building trades, other unions, that are affiliated with us, tell me like, hey man, we think you should run. And I was hesitant at first, and I had a couple more come out and tell me like, hey man, you we want you to represent us. And it just seemed like the right time. So, when you have, after I had, multiple unions reach out to me and ask me to run to represent them, it almost felt disrespectful not to, right? Mm-hmm. If they're asking me to go run for the position and take a shot at it, I figured why not. So.
And who votes, Vince? Does every member of every union vote, or does the union send a certain representative or representatives to vote?
Yeah, so there's a delegate system. So in order to be affiliated with the Southern Nevada Building Trades, you have to pay a monthly per capita. and that's based off your membership, active members and stuff. So depending on how many members you pay on, it determines how many delegates you get for voting power and strength.
Got you. Yeah. It's almost like the electoral system here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very cool. As you mentioned earlier, your dad was also in the trades. He immigrated from Michoacan, Mexico, and your brothers are in the trades. So your roots go deep in this. I know it because I get to know you, hear you. I know it's in your heart and your the fabric of who you are the trades. And so you're also the founding president, we found out during our research, of the Las Vegas chapter of the Labor Council for Latin American Advancement. Tell us more about this organization and its mission.
Yeah, so LACLA's organization, we do like voter registration and education, just letting them know when, the elections are going to happen. We don't do endorsements through that process. We work with our current local elected officials, Olivia Diaz and a few others. When they did, like during COVID, we did resource fairs with them. We did food drives. We've done school supplies. We've done backpack drives. So we try not to, it sounds bad, but it's really not. But what we try to do is we don't try to host our own events. It seems like in that space, a lot of people are very territorial when you're trying to do good. And it's like, well, no, we're helping. So we just try to attach ourselves to somebody who's already doing something good for the community and just jump on board with them and help out. And then, like I said, if there's an organization that's doing voter registration drive or voter education, then we'll just attach ourselves and help on with that. So we're just like in a supporting group. Every once in a while, we'll get a Latino union member who doesn't feel comfortable talking to their own union. And it's just not in the construction industry. It's any and all unions. That could be culinary, SEIU, mail carriers, any union. And you don't have to be affiliated with the AFL. Just any union, if you're a part of a union and you want to join, you can. And there's even like a non-union side of it that you could join too if you just wanted to help out and do the community service side. But if you're not comfortable, if you're a union member, you're not really comfortable talking to your leadership or your union leadership, because it happens sometimes, right? Again, I'm the first Latino here, and not every Latino feels comfortable, or any person of color feels comfortable talking to their union leadership. They could use us as an outlet to try to help and guide them down the right pathway.
That's really good. And I think that, I like how you say more than political, it's very much a community engagement organization. And I didn't know that. So thanks for sharing that with us. Another unique thing that I wanted to talk to you about was, you've heard us because you're involved in our programs committee and all of these other initiatives like Brightline West, which hopefully we'll talk about too. But we've heard very loudly from employers that the talent, they want a more robust connection to the talent pipeline, because the talent pipeline, as you know, doesn't start at 18 when they leave high school. Yes, at 18 you can start an apprenticeship, you can get the military, vocational training, community college, university, all those choices. But the first 13 years of that talent development or workforce development pipeline is that K through 12 system, those 13 years where we can do a much better job. And so employers have asked us, and we've now been successful in opening the doors, and we're grateful for our partnership with the CCSD team that we have been able to visit high schools and middle schools, elementary schools. I know you were with Councilman Scott Black in North Las Vegas at a middle school not long ago. How important is it after years that it seems like where we, as not just as a region in Southern Nevada, but I think as a nation, we're consciously or not really pushing that leave no kid behind. Every kid needs to go to college. Every kid needs to go on this same. And while it's true that a lot do, because we need doctors, engineers, and all these things, we also, again, need tradesmen. We need technicians. And so why is it important to you that we do a better job at the schools early enough to tell them about all these opportunities that they have for one day when they want to work?
Yeah, I think to let them know that it's an option, right? Like, I know back in the day, from what I'm being told, they used to send you to the military for punishment. You want to do jail time or military. And the trades were kind of looked at similarly, where it's like, well, do you want to, if you don't do good, you're going to end up digging trenches. Well, like, do you know how much that guy digging trenches actually makes? It's not a bad job. You know what I mean? Or, installing toilets, or like they try to frame it out to be bad. So I think there was a stigma that came along with being a trench digger or a construction worker. And it's not, people found out real quick, like, no, there's a benefit. There's a career here. It's not punishment. And to reach it at the high school level and let them know that there's opportunities, and you call it trade schools, I call it like a bona fide apprenticeship, is what the unions have to offer. There's a huge difference. I tell a lot of kids, they're like, oh, I'm going to welding school. And I'm like, well, how much are you paying for that? Well, it's this much. And I'm like, well, it should be free. Apprenticeships are free. Yeah. We're self-funded. And, if you get the job, then you get taught how to weld. And that's the difference between like a lot of union apprenticeships and others. And, for instance, I'm working on something. We have right now roughly 500 apprentices out of work in Southern Nevada. So like the workforce development, we're not looking to develop more workforce because right now we have more people than work, right?
Yeah.
Or like Northern Nevada has the opposite. They have more work than people. So in my mind, I've sat and I've talked with local electeds and local leaders and stuff. And it's like, okay, so like if we take CCSD, for example, and we say all new school construction for CCSD will require 25% of their first year apprentices, 25% of their first year apprentices need to be graduates from a CCSD school within the last 5 years. Now we're creating a pipeline.
Yes.
That's how you create a pipeline. Now you're saying, okay, graduates of CCSD within the last 5 years are required to be on this job, right? And so a lot of contractors don't like that because they don't want to be told what to do. And so it makes it tough. Like contractors will go and say, we need a skilled and trained workforce, but at this price, not that price.
Right.
Like, so I get it. Everybody wants a discount, right? Like you buy stuff when it's on sale because it's cheaper. Unfortunately, workforce isn't like that, right? Like that's why it's so important to have a bona fide apprenticeship, is because we have a skilled and trained workforce that's ready to go out the box. And so with these types of agreements that I've been working on, I haven't really talked to CCSD about it. That was just an example, but those are really good examples of how you create a pathway, right? Or if there's a project in Ward 3 and you could say, hey, I want 25% of the first year apprentices, not 25% just apprentices. We could get 25% apprentices anyway.
500 right now.
We're trying to get first year apprentices from that underserved community. That's what's important. And then it gives us a reason to develop a workforce. Yeah. Now we have to get a new workforce to develop. And then what happens? So that 25% of first year, now those apprentices that weren't allowed because, state law requirements are very low, but now we're driving a demand to put those apprentices to work too. And it's all with our taxpayers' dollars, right? It's all with the wage that prevails. We do a wage survey every 2 years. And so that's how you get the prevailing wage survey, right? And that's where the prevailing wage dollar comes from. And it's that pretty much equivalent to the union wage. So you get a narrative saying it costs too much. Well, that's weird because the union wages is the same as the prevailing wage, right? We're going to have to hire somebody to check these boxes. Why is that a problem? If it's a prevailing wage job, you have certified payroll, you have somebody to check certified payroll. You're just adding a column to make sure that these other requirements are in there. Well, the city's going to have to hire a new staff person for that. Okay, so we're creating a new job, right? I don't know what city staff gets. Let's just say $80,000 a year.
And a multi-million-dollar job?
Yeah, for a multi-million-dollar job. We're putting people to work from the community who possibly could be on government assistance that don't now qualify to be on government assistance. So you're helping the community, you're helping people, you're trying to help people grow, and there's always a reason as to why not. And what the only conclusion I come to is that it's because it's making people who have been very complacent and comfortable on their jobs, you're trying to get them to move in a direction they're not comfortable with. But who loses? The community loses in the end, which is unfortunate, And you would like to think that our local elected officials would see that value and push. And there's a couple that are, and I'm not going to name drop. There's no need for that. But I'm working with some and really trying to drive a demand for a workforce development program, because everyone wants to talk about it and do it. But then when the rubber hits the road and say, okay, make me that promise on paper.
Right.
Show me on paper that you're committed for workforce development. They get nervous, And I get it. There's things that work out.
I like those ideas because, like you say, you're putting that decision making in those who have the power. If CCSD is investing in a school, and then they have the power to create those policies on how the construction is going to happen, so do the cities, so does the state when they build things, and so that's really good. I think that's why I'm glad you're on the part of our programs committee, because on our, whether it's our local elected officials who govern the agency. Again, Councilman Scott Black, Councilwoman Olivia Diaz, Mayor Michelle Romero, Commissioner McCurdy, and our other rural commissioners as well. I think that's the conversation we need to start having or continue to have. I know Tommy and Lou also have mentioned, as you said, that the opportunity to be purposeful and not leave it to chance, but put it on paper and actually creating the opportunities for either the people that work in that city, county, or state, or people, graduates from that school. What a great idea that is as well. So thanks for sharing that idea. Another thing that I think I really wanted to talk to you about was, as we mentioned earlier, last month was that groundbreaking, ceremony, which is historic because we don't think about it now, but it's going to connect two iconic destinations that people from all over the world travel to. Southern California because of all that's happening there, and of course Southern Nevada because now all that's happening here. You and I remember a day when we didn't have the NFL or the NHL or the WNBA or now a baseball park, and this town is just more than ever a worldwide destination. And having this first of its kind true high-speed rail connecting the two areas is going to be, I think, a game changer for economic development. But again, we have to build it. We have to make sure that we have not just the workforce, as you said, available, the apprentices you talked about, to go build that project. But again, that Major League Baseball, I just read yesterday that the Mirage is closing and it's going to have 3 years of construction. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that puts also some of those to work. But what role, since you were there, again, representing the trades on the stage, what role will the Southern Nevada Building Trades Union have in this massive project that I think will be a game changer for our region?
Sure. So, I mean, you could take it back as far as like the last couple of years, right? This project has been my predecessor's predecessor, right? Like,
that's right.
It's been going on for years and years and years. But when I started to become a true believer I probably went to DC a dozen times last year. Within the last 12 months, and it was all to advocate for the money for Brightline. And they would ask certain questions. I mean, I'd fly in and then fly out the very next day. It was like an in and out trips, but I believe we played a big role, right? Because they were asking workforce development questions. Does this really have a project labor agreement on it? What does it look like? What does it look like to the benefit of the community? And that's where a lot of the ideas came for a community benefits type plan for CCSD and stuff like that. So we, like I said, I think we played a vital role. A lot of times I would be in a room and there'd be 6 other people that had nothing to do with the construction side of it. And they would ask them questions, and then the directions somehow at the end were always back to me, like, is that true? Do you feel this? Do you feel that? And, at the time, I'm just doing my job, right? And it wasn't until at the groundbreaking ceremony that I even realized what a big deal it really was. Yeah. You had the full federal delegation, you had the governor, and you had Vincent Saavedra. Like, it was pretty crazy, man. Like that was mind blowing to me. And it wasn't until after I started looking at the pictures that I realized, like, holy shit, this is a real thing. Yeah. And just like the A's deal, right? Like, you don't realize it. You're in the heat of the battle. You're trying to make something happen. And so you're not looking at the benefits because you don't want to get your hopes up either. But every time when SB 1 passed or Brightline came to fruition and we did the groundbreaking, that's when you're able to like sit back and look like, holy crap, like we're really going to put my brothers and sisters to work. Yeah. Like they may be able to buy a first home, right? Their kid to college, transportation, club sports, right? And people are like, what does that got to do? Like, I don't think that people understand for the mental state of mind for the construction worker. You want to leave that, right? And you're always worried about your next paycheck or how you're going to make the bills. And it's like, well, what does that got to do with like kids' sports and stuff? Like the joy that brings and enjoying the fruits of your labor to see your child thrive in something, whether it's sports, any kind of extracurricular activities, for your mental state of mind, it works wonders, and it's a big deal, right? And I know we're not going to talk about it today, but that's another big thing is the mental health of a construction worker. And I've been doing work with that, right? Like with our sobriety committee, our Sober in the Trades, they meet weekly. We're doing a lot of different work like that with building trades, and it's to prepare for times like this, right? Because also, when you're out of work, you go through things mentally. Then when you have a lot of money, sometimes you do things out of character because you're not used to doing it with all the overtime. So trying to find that nice balance is something that's we're working on as building trades as a unit, because it's not a single craft issue. All crafts deal with the same thing.
That's great. I mean, no, we should definitely talk about it. I know it wasn't one of the questions, but mental health is on the minds of everybody now because of burnout, because of the way, again, that we consume information. So it's great to hear that you have a focus on that for all the trades. I know that when I talk to my construction friends, whether it's Guy Martin or, all the folks that I've known in the construction world, I think the general public doesn't realize that a construction worker has to get comfortable with, his office might be the Mirage for the next 3 years, but then they go on to the next project, to Brightline West and the Major League Baseball field. And so it's something that's just part of the thing. They get used to it. But I never stopped and thought about that the waiting for that, the uncertainty can cause you to feel certain things. And so mental health, I'm glad to hear that you guys are focusing on it because your workers deserve that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. And it's a lot of the benefits are provided already through the insurance from the unions. And I think a lot of the membership is just unaware that there's help available for them. So we've been doing a lot of advocacy work trying to explain to them how to use their benefits in that capacity. Yeah,
that's really good, Vince. So we've been talking a lot about work because I know, you work long hours, you start early, sometimes end up very late, have to travel, as you said. And then I see you at community events too. You got to put on the suits and the tuxedos to come to events and represent also the people the association that represents the many unions. But in your free time, when you have free time, how do you spend your time away when you're not working or volunteering for causes? What hobbies, activities, do you like to do?
Yeah, so good and bad, right? I mean, I enjoy a cigar, right? And it's funny because people talk about business being conducted on a golf course. I like to play golf too, but I've cut in more business deals in a cigar lounge than I have in a golf cart.
Wow.
I do jujitsu with my son and my daughter. Shout out to Vilbros. It's the Jiu-Jitsu Center. And the guy who owns it is actually a ironworker. He's a member of Ironworkers Local 416 as well. So
That's
we do
cool.
that. And those are pretty much my hobbies. I mean, playing golf, jiu-jitsu, and then watching, the thing I love more than anything is watching my kids compete.
Yeah.
Win or lose. I used to care when I was a lot younger. I used to get mad if they lost. But now, man, I don't care. I just want to see them overcome diversity and see them try and not quit and give up. Whether that's jiu-jitsu, my daughter plays flag football. My oldest daughter played club soccer for years, and my son wrestles and plays football, jiu-jitsu, and then does golf with me too. So he's coming into that age where he's becoming a young man. And so I enjoy having those difficult conversations with him about life. And I guess somewhat of a hobby is mentoring young men and letting them know that it's okay, you have testosterone, bro. You could be a man in today's, I know society sometimes says different, but it's okay because we need providers and protectors in our world, and you want to go be in the military or you want to be in construction, you got to have a little rough edge to you. And so mentoring young men is something I enjoy doing. You know what I mean?
And that's really cool that all of your kids like sports, because a lot of times, you have 1-2 kids, one likes sports, the other one's more intellectual, but all of yours got into sports. That's really awesome.
Yeah, my youngest she probably didn't want to, and it's not that I forced her. I just told her, in life, we have to do things we're not comfortable with and that we don't like doing, but this is how you make money, right? And if you want to grow as a person, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, that saying, and teaching her how to get comfortable being uncomfortable so that you can grow as a person. And I tell her, they're called the growing pains for a reason, because it hurts to grow. If you want to sit and be complacent, it's called extinction. You're going to die. You're not going to grow. You're not going to advance. So,
and I can picture you cutting a deal over a cigar because, we share this over the phone as we prepared for this visit of yours. Councilwoman Ruth Garcia Anderson, from North Las Vegas, told me she was at your home and she said, "You got to go. He's got a beautiful home." I saw the pictures, but I can see you there in that backyard with Stogie.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the backyard, I purchased the home from somebody who used to own a landscaping company, so he did a great job in the backyard.
Beautiful.
It is very beautiful. And that's my piece. That's my
Nice.
piece. I don't mind doing a fundraiser here and there, for certain candidates. But at the end of the day, that my home really is my sanctuary. That's my piece. And I do a lot of thinking in that backyard, believe it or not.
Very good.
More thinking than partying like people think, but yeah.
Now, do you, when you're going to smoke a cigar, do you make a trip to go get it, or do you have your own stash at home with your humidor? And
both. So I have a small, very, very small humidor, but I try to go to the cigar outlet on Sahara.
Get it fresh.
And then just go home and smoke.
Yeah.
And usually I buy 2 or 3, keep them in there. But and for me, cigar is one of those things where it's a good activity alone, so you can free think, and really get into thought, or share it with a friend, and have some real good conversations. Like, again, I've had business deal and then like real life personal conversations with people that I think are life changing over cigar.
Have you been to I think you have, there's 250 people, so I can't remember exactly, but the DC fly-in, the Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
So next time, if you're coming this year, me, you, and Guy Martin then have to go
Shelley's.
grab a Yes, okay. It's on then.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it.
We'll make it happen.
Yes, sir.
Earlier, you talked about something that's very important for me, too, because I have, obviously, 2 kids, and now are in CCSD. Almost half of the students are Hispanic descent. And so you were the first Latino in this position. You know, everybody knows you in the community. You're doing great work. What advice would you give a young, boy or girl, Latino, or of any race really, of color, minority, that they don't see themselves represented in leadership, as you said, as they look around? If they say, I want to be like Vince one day, what does that journey look like? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, so I didn't really take a little small step back from the question. I didn't realize that was a thing. I always thought that was phony, right? Like, who wants to be like me, or who doesn't feel like they're represented? I never really used to like to share the fact that I was the first Latino, because I didn't think it mattered. There was more people celebrating it than I was, and I don't care. I just want to do my job. Like, I just want to work. That doesn't matter to me. The county presented an award with me during Hispanic Heritage Month. I received it. In my mind, I'm like, oh, this is just a dog and pony show. Like, great, I'm important for 30 days out of the year. Thank you. And then I realized that was small mind thinking. And what changed my mind was Ed On, my chief of staff, man, God bless him, great guy. He's opened my eyes to a world that I've never really seen, right? And he doesn't even realize that he's done it, but he gives me inspiration too. And so he said, hey, man, I'm going to invite all these people. And I'm like, don't even worry about it. So he invites a bunch of different Latino union members and some people not in leadership roles, but staff. And so they go to the county building. They see me watch the reward, and I'll never forget this. A guy came up to me. He's like, "Hey, Vince, I don't know you. You don't know me. I follow you on social media." And he's like, "I want you to know, man, how proud I am of you, and you inspired me. And now I'm going to run for my executive board in my union." Wow. And he's like, "You made me believe that I could do it." And I never thought that stuff was real. I mean, I thought that stuff was fake. I thought it was for the movies. You know what I mean? And so that's when I was like, man, it's important to share my story. You know, my dad was there. He watched me. Like I said, my dad came from Michoacan, and things like this don't happen to people like us, right? But again, I've never looked at it through that lens. I've always looked at it as just keep my head down and grind and work. And so, I mean, any young person who thinks it's not possible, it is. And it's so cliche to say, like, you could do whatever you put your mind to. Like, that's so. When I was a kid, you don't think of that stuff. But it wasn't until I gained a work ethic and I started to educate myself to realize, like, no, this is real. Education is real. The more you know, the more you're going to grow as a person. And the harder you work, and it's not fair. You might be a better candidate than the next person, but don't ever stop, because you never know how close you are to the finish line. And your pathway to the finish line might be different than the person that beat you for the job or whatever. So don't ever stop grinding. Don't ever discount yourself. It's okay to be sad. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I tell my kids, you be sad. You lost. Yeah, you got your butt kicked. Okay. Be sad, but do something about it. Don't sit there and have self-pity. Get up, run it again, run it again, run it again. Because eventually someone else is going to get tired before you. And that's how you beat them to the finish line. And any young person that seeks advice or needs help with anything, feel free to reach out. I like, if I don't answer, it's because I just got busy. But again, show me how relentless you could be. Show me in the contact me. If you want to talk that bad, like, and you need help, call me. Keep calling me. I got people all the time. Hey, can you give me a job? Yeah, give me a call tomorrow, and I'll let you know what I find out. They don't call back. It's like, okay, well, I know this is why you're unemployed, right? Like, where's the grind? You got to grind. So,
well said. I like it, Vince, that you said that the journey is not without pain, and pain is okay. But what are you learning from that pain?
100%.
I love that. Yeah.
There's a quote. I don't remember who it was, but basically, if you're going to be stupid, you better be tough. You know what I mean? But I tell people all the time they're afraid to fail. And I failed more times than they've tried. And that's why I'm at where I am, right? You have to go through it. And then you start getting comfortable, and it ends up becoming a good thing. Like, oh, I know what's going to come after this. Like, this hurt. Whether It could be anything in life. It just doesn't have to do with work, right? Heartbreak, death in a family. Like, time does heal everything, and you do get better, and you become a better person. And I'm real firm believer in that stuff.
Awesome. Well, Vince, we've gotten to the time now. We're at the end of our podcast, which I've thoroughly enjoyed. But is there any final thoughts that you can leave us with? Is anything happening with the Southern Nevada Building Trades Union that you want to tell our listeners, viewers? It'd be good for you one time to mention how people who are interested can learn more. Is there a website, a URL? And as you say it, we'll also put it here on the screen. So I'll turn over the mic to you one last time for any final thoughts.
Thank you. Yeah. Look, I'm a firm believer in that the community needs to be building the community. If it has public dollars in it, the public should be building it. And that's how you develop a workforce, right? And again, if you're interested in the trades, like I said, right now work is slow until some of these bigger projects pick up. But smbtu.org is our website, and you can go on there, and it has all the different trades, all the affiliates of building trades, and then just find what trade best fits you. It's kind of like branches of the military. Which one best fits you? And if you're a veteran and you're looking for work, we have a program for that as well called Helmets to Hard Hats. So please reach out.
That's cool. Well, Vince, I'm looking forward to not just continuing to work together in the context of what we've been talking about, the projects ahead of us, connecting with the schools to make sure that there's a sustainable pipeline, but also the other stuff that you talked about. How do we change influence policy so that the contracts and the agreements also accommodate the formation of those talent pipelines? So. And then let's not wait till DC for the cigar. Let's go to that beautiful backyard and have a cigar.
Do it. Yes, sir.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for inviting.
Vince. Yep. Well, that's it for another episode of the WC Podcast. We hope to see you at the next one. Until then, stay safe. Vince, thank you for staying over and doing our bonus segment called Against the Wall. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. The first segment is called Your Favorites. I'm going to give you a category, and you're going to give me your favorite thing in that category. Let's start with an easy one. Tell me your favorite food.
Favorite food, probably ceviche.
Ooh. Favorite movie?
Shawshank Redemption.
Ooh, love that one. Favorite book?
Favorite book, probably Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Favorite subject in school?
You know what? It was math, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Favorite subject when you were in the apprenticeship?
Blueprint reading.
Awesome. Your favorite holiday?
Halloween.
Favorite sports team?
The Raiders.
And your favorite college team?
USC Trojans.
Wow. Yeah. Very nice. Well, you made it through the first segment. The second one is called Tough Choices. I'm going to give you two choices, and hopefully you can pick one. Vacation or staycation?
Probably staycation.
And when you go somewhere, a destination, would you rather drive there or fly there?
Drive.
And when you get there, would you rather stay in a hotel or an Airbnb?
Hotel.
If you could choose a day by the ocean or hiking in the mountains, which one will it be?
Ocean, for sure.
Retiring on a ranch or in the city?
Ranch.
Ability, if you could be a superhero and you could choose between the ability to see the future or change the past, which one would you choose?
Change the past.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah.
If you had the ability to fly or breathe underwater?
Fly.
Here's a tough one. Justice or grace?
Probably justice.
Actions or words?
Actions.
Awesome. You finished the second segment. The last one is called Finish the Sentence. I'm going to give you about 95% of a sentence. You're going to finish it for me. You ready?
Yes, sir.
If Vince could live anywhere, it would be?
Las Vegas, Nevada.
The best part of living in Nevada is?
The landscape.
Vince's favorite thing about his job is?
Helping people.
And if Vince could travel back in time, he would travel to?
The 50s.
3 words that describe Vince are?
Self-starting, hardworking, and dedicated.
Couldn't agree more. Doing the WC podcast here today with us was?
Amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming,
Thank
Vince.
you, honey. Appreciate it.